Good day, viewers. Welcome back to Balanced, where weekly we talk about the importance of balancing your body, mind, spirit, and community. I'm John, and today my guest is Counselor Bill Martin. Welcome to Balanced. Well, good afternoon, viewers. Welcome back to our Balanced episodes. We are in week 2 of our new series called Relational Balance. Last week, we met with and heard from Coach Jason Golden, some really good insight into how relationships can help us in working out and having a good balance in our body with other people around us. So today, we're going in a whole different direction, but very helpful to us about our relationships. And I want to invite in one of our counselors from Samaritan to help us talk about this topic today. Bill Martin is joining us today. Thanks, Bill, for helping us today.
Well, I'd love to do it. A pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about safe people. What in the world does that mean? We're going to talk about that in a moment, but just a few thoughts here about introduction. Bill has been on our staff for about a year, but he's been practicing counseling for about 15 years. Along with a whole host of other things he's done in his life. Bill, what is it about counseling? What drew you to that? That you enjoy, helping people in this lane.
Um, Not to be that cheesy kind of answer, but it is a calling, and it has been. And I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. I'm not now. I'm a mental health counselor. Yeah. In the beginning, when I went to college, I ended up working at a radio station to help pay for the degree. I liked the radio part so much, I ended up doing that and getting into television. And I spent most of my entire career as a TV news anchor, really. And then would work part-time in the morning as a therapist. I was in Ohio, so we're clinical counselors up there. And then go to work 3 to 11, and then go home and do some counseling, and then go to work 3 to 11. But I couldn't not do it. And now I'm retired from the TV part and full-time as a therapist.
Yeah, that's such a cool story. And with all of that kind of work history in several lanes there, it's pretty clear you've worked with all kinds of people and had an opportunity to speak about this topic we're going to talk about. Before we jump too deep in here, listeners, I just want to show you a copy, the front cover of a book that I'm going to reference called Safe People by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. And the subtitle to the book says this: How to Find Relationships That Are Good for You and Avoid Those That Aren't. So that's what we're getting into a little bit, not terribly deep, but just to touch on this. And Bill, I'm going to read a statement that they say in here about sort of why they wrote this book to help us jump off into talking about this. They say they write this to help us look inside ourselves, identify our blind spots, vulnerabilities, and understand why we are easy prey to manipulative people or susceptible to controlling individuals. And what I like about this book is they don't just point a finger at everybody else, they also help you look at yourself. So they say this, also to look at yourself to see how you might be unsafe for others. So I think it's really good in helping us in talking about relational balance and how our minds and emotions work with that. Bill, as you've worked in this for all this time, and you hear that definition, what comes to mind when you hear the word safe and unsafe people? What's your definition of that?
I think it maybe depends on the environment you're in. I was working in a inner city school, and the kids in the gym were screaming and yelling. And I asked one of the counselors finally, other counselors, I said, why is everybody screaming? I was new there. They said, well, at home, you can't go out because the gang members will try to indoctrinate you, steal your bike, hurt you. So everybody stays inside until they go to school and go to the gym and release all the energy. So that might be very different than somebody living in Lakewood Ranch.
Sure.
And, just kind of being aware, getting your face out of your cell phone and being aware of your surroundings, situational awareness. So, I mean, it can be that broad.
Yeah.
and it just depends. So part of counseling is self-reflection, not only for the therapist, the person undergoing therapy. Just looking inside, and I can always tell when people get really healthy when they're in my office, and I can see them kind of going off on their own saying, I think this is why I do this and this is why I do that. I said, aha, you finally got it. You can get your self out of the problem that's here you can't see through, or it's so tangled up we got to pull it apart and look at it, and you can start to walk down your own uh, to some pretty good mental health. That answers your question. I mean, it's that broad.
Right, exactly. And as I was thinking about us, prepping for this conversation, an unsafe person could be there because they're in an abusive situation, which
Sure.
is a totally different context than just a child who's trying to manipulate their parents to get what they want. I mean, that's totally different
Which is part of
context.
being a child.
Right, exactly.
It's kind of
And
normal.
I like what you just said because I think that even may help us realize sort of it's a process in a sense, and see if I am reframing what you said correctly. Because it may be we have to figure out our own stuff before we can even recognize that the safe who are the safe and unsafe people around us. Is that right?
But yeah, and that's part of it. Safety, security, and belonging. That's what we all need and should want. So, how can you be safe? How can you be secure in your environment, in your home, with other people? How can you feel like you can feel safe, secure, and belong to your friends and a group of people? So, maybe you're at a dance or some party and not get yourself into a compromising situation. So those are all kind of internalizing, self-examining, being aware. Self-awareness is really, really a key in all of this. From leaving work at night, you might be young, work at night. You put 911 into your cell phone. You put your finger near it, and if somebody's approaching you and you feel unsafe, you hit the call button.
Yeah.
But so many people now are kind of walking around doing this. You're not aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
So it can start there, um, and you mentioned abuse. It could be something like that. It could be in a part of town maybe you don't feel safe in, and how do you handle that? Sure, even an Uber ride or a Lyft ride, is your
Right.
driver um, providing you safety, security, and belonging?
Yeah. Yeah, those are very physical illustrations. In the book, they talk a lot about interpersonal relationship situations. For example, when I read the book, it's the first time I heard the term triangulating.
Mm-hmm.
And but as they talked about it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I've seen that, or I've actually done that. I'm guilty of those temptations, kinds of things. And not even putting that together with being a safe or unsafe person. Uh, let's dig into that for a moment. Sort of interpersonal kind of unsafe things. How does that play out?
Well, triangulation is manipulation. And so that's not a healthy place to be, to do, or to allow something to happen to you, because a manipulation can end up putting you in a very unsafe position. I mentioned a party. You'd be there, if you end up getting manipulated into a situation, maybe you're all of a sudden alone with somebody and you're pressured, or you could be hurt, or, so you always want to be aware of those situations of manipulation. That's not a safety, security, belonging thing. I think
Right.
that should always roll into your head.
Hmm.
How can I be safe? How can I be secure in a relationship, in a family, with a group of people? How can I belong and feel safe?
Yeah.
And if you're not, then what do you do?
Right. Yeah. They address that in the final chapter in the book is chapter 13, and they go into okay. So, and this is what I'd like you to answer in your thoughts. When you realize I'm unsafe, whatever that means, does that mean you have to totally cut off that relationship, or what do you do when you realize, oh, this is not good?
Yes, maybe. I would say not now is not never. And so I was just a bit ago, and I won't reveal too much, but somebody believed a friend was not in a safe situation. I said, you can call the police and have them do a safety check.
Yeah.
Explain the situation. They'll come by, they'll do a safety check, and they'll report back to you or not, but we'll make sure that other person is okay,
Yeah.
not being manipulated or hurt by whoever else is in the household. So that's one thing you can certainly do. Um, just being aware, I mean, really increasing your awareness, not to a panic or a paranoia, but so you can enjoy what here I would call the fruit of the spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness. I mean, that is to me, whether you're a person of faith or not, if you want to be an excellent human, you should really pull those things out of you. And if you're not feeling peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, love, and understanding, then why? And what
Yeah.
do you need to do about it? And see a counselor, get with your friends, use the tools that are out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to end with this question to you. When, I think you already hit on it, but just expound on it a little bit. When does it feel like, okay, I need to walk through this with a counselor?
If it's interrupting your daily life, then you need to see a counselor. And maybe it's something that's longer term. Maybe it's one or two and just a reset. Um, some people don't know what a counselor looks like. Might be for older folks, a Bob Newhart kind of guy. Um, or you might imagine holding up ink blot pictures or voodoo, or I don't know why, but for me personally, it's me partnering with the person that comes in. We're going to walk down the road together. I'm going to pour into you, and then you're going to take off on your own because you got the tools to survive and thrive. And whether that's done in 2 sessions or 20, that's okay.
Well, listeners, we hope that this conversation was helpful to you in understanding and being aware of what it means to be in safe and unsafe relationships, how to respond to those. And we really want to encourage you that if you find yourself in places like we talked about in our conversation that aren't safe, that you reach out to us and let us walk with you, like Bill suggested. Let us walk with you and find the ways that you can be in safe relationships. And so if that's your case or someone you know, I encourage you to reach out to us by phone, send us an email, and let us do exactly what Bill and others and our staff are able to do, and that is to walk with you and get you to a healthy place. Thanks for tuning in to the conversation today. I want to thank Bill for joining us, and we invite you to continue watching every Wednesday. We'll be back next Wednesday at noon with another episode of Balanced. Have a great afternoon.